where my heal's at, because even though I was duoing with the strategist main, there are just some times where I feel like I'm dying when I shouldn't be, or I'm low when I shouldn't be. And I'm here sitting wondering whether it's my fault or their fault. But in this game, I can't believe the mistakes that were happening. So the point just opens up and my invisible woman decides to use a map mechanic to just fly upwards. So instead of using her healing things to go back and forth between teammates, she's really only just healing one person, but of course they're missing like a ton of hit markers. So that's probably why our whole team had to be pushed off instead of getting a bunch of AoE healing from invisible woman. I'm not sure if people don't know that that's how she works, or they just want to think they're doing a lot by floating in the air because they see a lot of other players float in the air and they normally look really cool when they are doing that. I am happy to say though that despite losing the first part of the point, we did regain it during that fight and push them off, and here we gain a bit of space. And whenever you do this, you push up to this little hallway a lot of times and you kind of just hold this area so that you burn some time while you retreat back to the point and do the main part of the fight. However, in this case, I was wondering how are people just taking so much damage and taking so long to get back up? Because here I feel like it's illegal, because even though there are a lot of people in line of sight, I just wasn't really getting topped off as quickly as I think I should. And from my perspective, it did look like we were all here. But if we rewind a little bit and speed up, as soon as we did push up, my healer just decides to walk all the way back to spawn without saying anything in voice chat, and apparently no one noticed. She was invisible both to the enemy and to us, switched characters, and came all the way back, and by the time you are back, people already died, and we are pretty much losing the point. We're down 2 players. You can't just do that because literally my heals were just not there for fun. This is Celestial, by the way. While a lot of people think Celestial is a really high rank, I think it's just like an okay rank, and when I see mistakes like this, it just makes me lose a lot of faith in the world, because 99% of other players in the game are literally just worse than this, and I don't even know how that's even possible, because I've never even seen this mistake made in quick play. Like, it's the first mistake I've seen of this type ever, and I played a ton of games just because I'm addicted to Marvel Rivals. Is it solely this player's fault that we end up losing the first round? No, because one of our DPS does get picked off later on, but we definitely could have put up a pretty big fight here and probably could have protected the point for like maybe 30 or 50% and probably would have been a closer round, you know, but that just didn't happen because someone else later misstepped and got caught. This person wasted exactly 30 seconds from the time they started walking back till they got back to the fight, which means inting and dying would have been a better outcome. But when my teammate said that it felt like he was the only person healing me, it's because he literally was. Now, my question is it my fault for not looking backwards even though the enemy team doesn't have divers on my team, just to make sure that I have 5 teammates behind me? I feel like if you do that every single fight, you're gonna be losing a lot of value, because you should just assume if your teammate is gonna ditch the team, they would at least say something in chat, because I've been in that position hundreds of times where you get the point, push up, and everyone's just fighting there, and whether you win or lose the fight, all 6 players are there. In the second round, this player actually does pretty fine. They are a Luna main, so it makes me wonder why they were even playing Invisible Woman in the first place, because clearly they did not know how Invisible Woman even works. So I know that doesn't grief every game, but I don't know why players do that at all. If you play someone on a role and it's not banned and you're good at them and they're pretty universal, like Luna can be played in most comps, right? Like, we're not kidding ourselves, right? But this game, they really decided that they just wanted to play Invisible Woman at the start and then walk all the way back to base and swap back to Luna. But then they make a mistake here where they do a Luna ult, and everyone does love Luna ult, but then it gets countered by a Magneto ult. And as a Magneto player myself, and a lot of times, a lot of Magnetos, while they understand that their ult counters Luna ults and most other support ults, it's actually pretty difficult to hit Luna because she goes so quickly in her ult. And I've had a lot of Magneto players on my team in previous games where they don't even try to hit the Luna, and I ask them why and they say that she's too hard to hit, which in some cases is true, but I don't see how a Luna main can make this mistake where they back themselves up into a corner and make themselves have no maneuverability, because again, they're just in a corner and Magneto can just throw his ult right at them. I even threw my E damage reduction on her and it was still enough to kill her. We do end up losing the next few fights because our 2 final hit DPS player decides to go int, but I do wonder how this game would have gone differently if this player decided not to walk back to base, if they actually played Invisible Woman properly in the first place by knowing how her left click healing works, or if they didn't stand still when walking into a Magneto ult.